Hello everyone, my name is Harshit Patke, and in this video lecture, I'll be talking about the weighted residue method and its application for finite element methods. So, what do we mean by a weighted residue method? A weighted residue method is an approximate method for solving a differential equation. So basically, when we are using residue method, we are not finding the exact solution, rather we are finding an approximate solution, which is the closest to the actual answer. So why do we need this? In certain situations where the system is very complicated or the differential equation that we obtain is very complicated and it's very difficult to obtain an actual solution for that particular case. That is where we have to go for approximate solutions and approximate methods. So one of the most commonly used approximate method for solving differential equation is weighted residue method. So what it works on is that it's based on a very simple and very basic idea that any function over a finite domain can be represented by a linear combination of linearly independent basic functions. What do you mean by this? Let us say we have a differential equation which looks something like this. So it's a differential equation of an order n, where the solution would be a function y, which is going to satisfy this particular differential equation. So according to weighted residue method, we can assume this solution y in this manner, such that your y of x is actually a linear combination of linearly independent terms. So we can have a naught plus a1x plus a2x square plus a3x cube and so on up to n terms. So these a0, a1, a2, a3 up to an, these are the constant terms, while x, x square, x cube, these are the functions. Now, this is basically a trial function. So initially we assume a trial function and then we validate whether our assumption is correct or not. So this is basically the ideology behind finding weighted residue method. Here, in my trial function, I can have any number of terms. So I can have only a naught, or I can have a naught plus a1x, or I can have a naught plus a1x plus a2x square and so on. So how many number of terms I should consider in my calculation or in my solution? It depends on the order of your differential equation. So what do you mean by that? If my differential equation to begin with is having an order of 2, that means it is having a double derivative of y. So in that case, my trial solution should also contain an x square term. So that is the maximum limit up to which I need to go. So in case of a second order derivative, I'll go for trial function which is having a naught plus a1x plus a2x square. I'll stop there. If my differential equation is of fourth order, that is d4y by dx4, right? In that case, my trial function will have terms up to x raised to 4. So in that case, my trial function will have 5 terms total, including a naught plus a1x plus a2x square plus a3x cube plus a4 x raised to 4. So similarly, depending on the problem at hand or depending on the differential equation at hand, we have to select our trial function and we have to select the number of terms in our trial function. And as I told you, this is a trial function. It's not the exact solution. So our main aim is to find a trial solution which will represent our final answer to the best of its ability. So what do we mean by that? That when we plug in this trial function into our original equation, then the error should be as minimum as possible. Okay. Now let us have a look at what are the different steps that are involved while solving this weighted residue method. So the first step, whenever you get a differential equation, the first step that we need to do is we need to consider a trial function. So as I told you, the length of trial function or the number of terms in the trial function will basically depend on the order of your differential equation. So once we consider a trial function, then in step number 2, we need to find the residue. So What do we mean by a residue? Basically, if I know what is my exact solution for a differential equation, so if I plug in my exact solution into my differential equation, then my LHS and RHS will be exactly equal because that is an exact solution. So my equation will satisfy. But since in this particular example or in this particular method, weighted residue method, we are going for an approximate solution. So when I plug in my approximate or trial solution into my original differential equation, then there is a chance that my LHS and RHS won't be equal because I'm actually obtaining an approximate solution. So approximate solution might be a bit different than the exact solution. So I'll get some error. So that error is nothing but what we call as residue. So in step number 2, I'll try to find out the residue that I'm getting if I plug in my trial function. So my entire aim in this particular exercise will be to find a trial function for which my residue is minimum. So if I get a residue of 0, that means my solution has exactly matched my exact solution. And a very less or a very small residue will indicate that my approximation is very close to the exact answer. So that is our main agenda. Once the residue is obtained, in the third step, we'll find out a weighted function. Now, regarding weighted function, we'll have a discussion when we solve a numerical. So let's hold this step for a while. Once you obtain the weighted function, then the fourth step would be obtaining the constants using weighted residue approach. So once you obtain the residue, once you obtain the weighted function, then we apply the weighted residue approach, and then we find out the constants. Which constants? The constants that we had earlier assumed in step number 1. So if you remember, our trial function was A0, A1, A2, A3. These were the constants that we had assumed whose values were not known to me. So in step number 4, I'll apply this weighted residue approach, and then I'll try to find out the values of these A1, A2, A3, A4 and all these constants. Once these constants are known, I can obtain my final solution. That is my fifth step. So these are the general steps that are that one needs to follow while solving weighted residue method. Now, weighted residue method encompasses number of sub methods. So the most prominent of them are, one is Galerkin method, which is the most commonly used and the most famous one. Then we also have method of least square, and then we have point collocation method. So these are the three methods or three types of weighted residue method. And now let us solve one example to see how these three methods compare with each other. Let us now try to solve an example to see how these three methods, that is Galerkin method, the point collocation method, and the least square method, all these three, how they fare. Okay, so let's first solve an example for Galerkin method. So here, this is the second order differential equation that we need to solve. d2u by dx2 plus u equal to 1. And these are the boundary conditions. So what we have, that at x equal to 0, our function u is having a value of 1. And at x equal to 1, our function is having a value of 0. So that means our function is actually varying between x equal to 0 and x equal to 1. So these are the two boundary conditions. In Galerkin approach, the first step that we need to do is we need to first assume a trial function. Now, if we have a look at the differential equation, it's a second order differential equation because it is having x square term. So that means my trial function should also have an x square term. That is the maximum limit up to which I should go. So let us consider a trial function u cap, that is x a0 plus a1x plus a2x square. Now this cap basically denotes that we are finding out a trial function. So u cap indicates that it's a trial function, while only u would indicate it's a exact solution. So wherever we find cap, that indicates that it's a trial function. So once a trial function is assumed, in the second step, we apply the boundary conditions. So the first boundary condition that we know is at x equal to 0, my function u cap is equal to 1. So if we plug this thing in our trial function, we'll get that a0 is actually equal to 1. So this value we have already obtained. Next, in the second boundary condition, I know that at x equal to 1, my trial function will be equal to 0. That is from my boundary condition that I know. So if I again plug this in my trial function, knowing that a0 is already 1, I can obtain a relationship between a1 and a2, like so. a1 equal to minus of 1 plus a2. Now, if I plug in these values into my trial function, the trial function can be rewritten as u cap is equal to 1 minus x plus a2 multiplied by x square minus x. So this is the new trial function that we have obtained after applying the boundary conditions. So this concludes our step number 2. In step number 3, we'll try to find out our residue. So basically residue means an error which is arising when you plug in your trial function into your original differential equation. If my assumed trial function is an exact solution, then my residue will automatically become 0, right? So our aim is to find out a trial function which will give a minimum residue. That is our main aim. So here, finding residue is very simple. We just need to plug in our trial function into back into our original differential equation. So our differential equation was d2u by dx2 plus u equal to 1. So we will keep everything on one side. So let's take 1 on the LHS, so it becomes minus 1. And the equation that you get, that is nothing but your residue. So in this case, our residue becomes d2u by dx2 plus u minus 1. When you solve this, it's a pretty simple calculation, just a second order differentiation of a polynomial. So once we solve it, our residue boils down to this particular equation, which is minus x plus a2 multiplied by x square minus x plus 2. So this is our residue, right? So we have obtained residue. Next, moving on to step number 4, which is finding weighted function. Now, one thing I would like to point out here is in all the 3 methods, whether it be Galerkin approach or point collocation method or method of least square, first 3 steps, that is step number 1, step number 2, and step number 3, all these 3 will remain common. Step number 4 is where these 3 methods bifurcate from each other. So all the differences will start coming from step number 4 onwards. Okay. So according to Galerkin approach, the weighted function that we can use is actually the derivative of our trial function with respect to the constant. So W, that is the weighted function, will be d by dA of u cap. Mind it, we have to differentiate our trial function with respect to the constant. Now, which constant are we talking about? If we go back to our trial function after applying the boundary conditions, if you see, this was our trial function that we are dealing with. So let us see how many constants there are in this particular equation. The only one constant which is there is A2. By applying boundary conditions, we have got rid of A0 and A1. So the only constant remaining with us is A2. So in this particular case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to differentiate my trial function. That is this particular equation I'm going to differentiate with respect to A2. That is what we'll do. Since we have only one constant, we'll differentiate only once with respect to A2 and we'll get one equation. Okay. Assume a situation where in this particular equation we are having, let's say, more than one constant. Let's say there is A2 and A3 also. For example, if that is the situation. In that case, we'll differentiate this u cap with respect to A2, we'll get one equation, and again we'll differentiate this u cap with respect to A3 and we'll get another equation. So we'll have two equations in that case, and then we'll have to solve them simultaneously to obtain our constants. So what do I mean to say is, this particular equation, after applying boundary conditions, the number of constants which are available in your trial function, that is what is going to govern how many weighted functions we are able to calculate. So in this particular case, in the present example, we only have one constant, that is A2. So I am going to get only one weighted function, that is by differentiating this equation with respect to A2. So let us do that. So I'm going to get only one weighted function, that is differentiating my u cap with respect to A2. Differentiating my u cap, this particular term is u cap, and differentiating with respect to A2. So when we differentiate, this is what we get. So our weighted function actually reduces to x square minus x. So this is my weighted function. So now I have obtained my residue, I have obtained my weighted function as per Galerkin approach. So this is as per Galerkin approach. This is as per Galerkin approach, right? Now, in the next step, we'll be applying our approach of, or the method of, weighted residue. So what it says that when you multiply your weighted function with your residue, and if you integrate this multiple over the entire domain, then the integration will yield a zero value. So what do I mean by that? If I multiply my weighted function with my residue, and if I integrate this over the entire domain, so in this particular example, our domain is from 0 to 1. So if I integrate this multiple with respect to dx from 0 to 1, then the solution of this integration is going to be equal to 0. So this is what our weighted residue method states. So I have obtained my weighted function, I have obtained my residue. I just need to multiply them and I need to integrate them over the domain, that is integrating them to over 0 to 1. And I need to equate it to 0. So that is what we have done here. So basically, our weighted function was x square minus x that we have obtained in the previous case. Our residue was something like this. So when you multiply them and when you integrate it with respect to x from 0 to 1, I'll show you the answer, and we are equating it with respect to 0. So from this particular polynomial, we'll obtain the value of A2. That is what we are interested in. We are interested in finding the value of A2. Since we have obtained the value of A2 in this particular Galerkin approach, the value of A2 is 0.278. Now let's plug in this A2 into our original trial function. So if you remember, our trial function was 1 minus x plus A2 into x square minus x. So replacing A2 by 0.278. So this will be our final answer. So as per Galerkin approach, this is the equation which is going to satisfy our differential equation. So this is our final answer as per Galerkin approach. Now, just for comparison purpose, let us also try to find out what is the displacement that we get, or what is the value of u that we get at x equal to 0.5, let's say at midpoint. So at x equal to 0.5, 0.5, my u cap is actually equal to, if you solve it, you'll obtain 0.4305. So this is the value that we are getting. So this is the displacement exactly at the center point at 0.5 is 0.4305. Okay. This was all about Galerkin method. Now let us try to solve the same example using another approach, that is method of least square. So let's try to solve that same differential equation, but this time by a different method, that is method of least square. So as I told you, in all these three methods, first, second, third step, that is the first step where we find out our trial function, the second step where we apply our boundary conditions, and the third step where we find out our residue. All these three steps remain unchanged. So let us not reiterate them. Let us directly go to step number 4, where we are finding the weighted function. So in case of method of least square, this is where the difference takes place. So here our weighted function is actually a differentiation of residue with respect to constant A. So this is the difference. If you remember, in Galerkin approach, our weighted function was the differentiation of the trial function with respect to A, while in method of least square, our weighted function is the differentiation of residue with respect to A being the constant. So again, the number of constants in our trial function after applying the boundary condition will be equal to the number of weighted functions that we can get. So again, in this particular example, since I'm having only one constant, that is A2, my weighted functions will also be only one. So when I solve them, okay, so differentiation of my residue with respect to A2, my weighted function becomes x2 minus x plus 2. x2 minus x plus 2. This is my weighted function. So this is a bit different than what we have got in Galerkin approach, because there we were differentiating our trial function with respect to it, while here we are differentiating our residue with respect to it. So that is why your weighted function is going to be different. Now, in the next step, again we'll apply our weighted residue method approach. So it will again say that our weighted function multiplied by residue integrating over the entire domain, that is 0 to 1, should be equal to 0. That is what we get here. Okay. So again, if I plug in my weighted function here, so this time my weighted function is x square minus x plus 2 multiplied by my residue, and again integrate over 0 to 1 and equate it to 0. I will again get some value of A2. So this time, for method of least square, the value of A2 that I'm getting is 0.272. Okay. So again, plugging my A2 value in my original trial function, my answer obtained from method of least square will look something like this: 1 minus x plus 0.272 x square minus x. Okay. So this is the answer that we are getting from method of least square. So if you compare this equation with respect to our Galerkin approach, you'll appreciate the fact that even though these methods are different, but A2 value which you are getting are pretty close to each other. Here it is 0.272. Here it is 0.272. So by both the methods, that is weighted residue method, Galerkin approach, and least square method, the value of A2 are pretty much close to each other. In this case, we are getting 0.272, while in that case it was 0.278, I guess. So they are pretty close to each other. Again, let us try to find out the response or the value of U at x equal to 0.5. So at x equal to 0.5, my U cap using this method, if you solve it, it is going to be around 0.4320. So earlier, if you remember, it was 0.4305, and this time it is 0.4320. So again, it is pretty close to each other. So we can say that since they are approximate methods, these two results are not going to match exactly, but they are pretty close. So we can accept them. Now, going to the third approach, that is point collocation method. Now, point collocation method is a method which is very simple as compared to the other two methods. This includes the minimum calculation. While this is an advantage that the calculation in this particular method are very less, it also possesses a very big disadvantage. The big disadvantage is While in case of the other two approaches, that is Galerkin approach and least square method, the solution that we are getting is true for the entire domain. That means in this solution, if I plug in any value ranging from 0 to 1, I'll get some answer and that is a true answer. While in case of point collocation method, I'm compelled to find my solution exactly at a particular point. So for example, in this method, if I solve my answer, if I solve my equation at x equal to 0.5, so whatever results I'll be getting from this method, they will be true only at x equal to 0.5. So if I want to find out what is the value of u for, let's say, x equal to 0.25 or 0.75, then I'll have to recalculate them, because point collocation method, as the name itself suggests, it is point specific. Okay, but again, it is very easy to solve. So what we do here is we find out at a particular location, we find out our solution at a particular location. So in this case, I'm finding out at x equal to 0.5. So again, step number 1, 2, 3 will remain the same. The difference will take place only in step number 4. So here, what we basically do is, see, if you remember in the initial class, I told you that the main aim is to make our residue as 0. If my residue is 0, then my answer is correct. That is what the main purpose is. So if I want to find out a solution at x equal to 0.5, what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug in x equal to 0.5 in my residue wala equation. I'll plug in this in my residue equation and I'll equate it to 0. So I'm deliberately making my residue 0 at that required location. So in this case, the only unknown that is remaining is A2. So if I solve this equation, I'll get the value of A2. And for this particular case, the value of A2 we are obtaining as 0.286. So if I just plug in this E2 in my original trial function, which is specific to x equal to 0.5. So the value or the solution at x equal to 0.5 we are obtaining as 0.4285, which is again very close to the other two approaches where we obtained as 0.4305 in Galerkin approach and 0.4320 in least square method, while here it is 0.4285. So all the three answers are pretty close to each other. But again, we need to understand one thing is that in case of point collocation, this A2 value that we have just obtained, this is true only at x equal to 0.5. True only at x equal to 0.5. So which means that if I want to find out my solution at some other point other than 0.5, then I can't use this A2 in my calculation. At new point, I need to find out new A2 value, and then again I'll calculate that solution. So this is the only difference between these three methods. So I hope you were able to understand these three methods. And if you have any doubts and any queries, please feel free to leave your comments in the comment section and I'll be more than happy to respond to them. Okay. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.